coming.
Sure.
My name is Jerry Shumate. I'm a physical therapist here. I've been here about 14, 15 years. And this is Jane Loomis Banta. She's an occupational therapist.
And I've been here for 12 years.
So, and we were asked to give a presentation. And the topic today is going to be talking about ergonomics, specifically regarding safe body mechanics, and then also looking at workstation assessment as far as the office setting is concerned. So Jane's going to be doing that part. And I'll be talking about first safety with lifting and body mechanics in general. Okay? There are handouts in the back. You guys got those. Basically, 3 handouts. One of them is going to talk about a typical setup for a workstation assessment. A guide for different types of exercises that you can do at the workstation. So taking breaks throughout the day to do various types of exercises to help prevent injuries that way. And then finally, there's some guidelines on safe lifting, as far as if you're lifting a box or moving things around the office, or as far as the hospital is concerned with nursing care, as far as you can relate these to patient handling as well, to some extent. Okay? So, before we start, basically, let's talk a little bit about ergonomics. What is ergonomics? Well, ergonomics is the study of work to enhance performance and efficiency while promoting safety, well-being, and prevention of injury. It's basically fitting the work to the worker. In other words, designing equipment and tasks to meet the capabilities and needs of the staff. So what can we do to make you be able to do your job safely and effectively? Okay, what tools do you need? What guidelines do you need? Body mechanics. Body mechanics are a general set of rules or guidelines on how we perform our everyday tasks, how we move our bodies when we're doing a task. An example, you can have good or bad body mechanics. The example up there is an example of good body mechanics. This is a good way, a demonstration of proper lifting and carrying technique. You can see that the gentleman there is bending at his waist and his hips and knees. And he's getting close to the load he's about to lift. You can see his back is straight. Okay, which is what you want to maintain. He's got his feet wide apart for a good base of support. And he goes and lifts and stands. He's using the big muscles in his legs, his buttocks, and his abdominals to do the work versus using his back. Okay, we'll talk about a little bit more specifically as far as rules go a little later, but this is a good example of proper body mechanics. Now, when I was getting this information together, I kind of was thinking, well, what would be the ultimate as far as body mechanics goes? What would be a better way to lift if we could achieve that? So I came across this little video I was going to show you guys. We'll see if it works good for me here. If I can get it to work here. Sorry. And the sound's not going to be the greatest. Alright, there we go. Any Star Wars fans out there? So that would be the easy way to lift, right? Oh, maybe not. So, if we all happen to be Jedi Knights and we could use the Force, that would be great. Unfortunately, we aren't, so we have to follow certain rules of body mechanics to protect ourselves. So we're going to go through the general guidelines for body mechanics now. The first one is to maintain a neutral lumbar spine. Okay, and I said lumbar, primarily most injuries with lifting occur in the lower back, but they can occur in the mid or upper back, or even the neck as well. So what we want to do is try to maintain that normal curvature in your spine. Okay, so I did bring a spine model. I'll just briefly show you. When you're looking at the spine, your spine is shaped like an S. Okay, you have a curve in the low back, and then you have another curve in the mid to upper back, and then another curve in your neck. Okay, so this spine has had a lot of wear and tear, but we'll try to get it in a general position here that we've been looking at. So whenever we're talking about keeping a neutral spine, we're talking about keeping that normal S-shaped curve. Okay? Anytime you flatten that curve out, you're increasing your risk of injury, especially if you also add in any twisting movement. In addition to that, you're increasing your risk. So whenever we're talking about keeping the neutral spine, that's what we're referring to. Okay? You want to use your large muscle groups, such as your legs, buttocks, abdominal muscles, with all lifting or patient handling activities. Okay? You want to avoid forward bending while twisting at the same time. You want to maintain your load as close as possible to your center of gravity. Maintain an increased base of support when transferring your weight, so keep your feet apart. Jane, you want to kind of demonstrate?
I was going to go there. Okay, so don't be doing this. Wide base of support. Feet should be about hip width or shoulder width apart.
Okay.
Body mechanics.
Okay. So when you're turning, you're going to pick up your feet when you turn, so you don't want to plant your feet and twist. And you want to keep that load as close as possible to you. Okay, so whether it's a box or whatever, keep it close to you. So further out, away from your body, the increased forces that can cause increased risk of injury. Okay? All right. And like I said before, use those big muscles, your leg muscles, your abdominals, your buttocks, and use those muscles versus using your back muscles. Okay? Or even your arms or shoulders. A lot of times people try to lift with their arms, and then you're increasing your risk of shoulder or upper back or neck injuries as well. Okay? Other rules, you want to test the load to be handled. By that we mean if you see a load you're going to pick up, maybe try it out. Just pick up a corner or see how heavy is this. Kind of just assess that beforehand. If you're going to help move a patient or do a transfer with a patient as far as patient care is concerned, then you just want to be aware of what's the patient's limitations. You know, why are they here? Get a report from the previous nurse about you know, what you have to be aware of as far as the patient's moving. How much help did they need beforehand? So you kind of can plan ahead and know what you're getting into. You want to plan the moves, so that means, you know, get things out of the way. Make sure you have room to do the task. Know if I'm going from point A to point B, what I need to do to prepare for that. So I don't get halfway there and say, oh, wait a minute, I got to move this, so I'm trying to move with one arm or kick with my leg or whatever. So have things prepared ahead of time. And then finally, you want to communicate with all people involved. So you know, if two people are involved in the task, which hopefully, if it was a heavy task, you would have asked for help if you needed. But communicate with those people so they know, you know, okay, I'm going to do this. On 3, we're going to lift. We're going to move from here to the end of the table, so that everyone's on board, so you're not being counterproductive and working against each other. Okay? And then finally, good body mechanics by themselves will not prevent injury if the load or amount of repetition is high enough, or if either is combined with awkward postures. So you can be really careful, but if you're doing something repetitively over and over and over, or you're getting in one of those awkward postures, then you're increasing your risk of injury. Okay? So, risk factors for back injuries. Number 1, repetition. Doing the same motions over and over. And this could be a short-term or long-term problem. You may have short-term effects over the course of a day, and you have little aches and pains here or there. But over time, those things may get better after that day, but over time there's a cumulative effect. So that little episodes of microtrauma over time can add to a long-standing problem. Okay? Again, awkward postures, bending, reaching, kneeling, bending forward and turning. All those awkward postures, you want to avoid those as much as you can. Force, that's the actual amount of weight that you're lifting, whether it's an object or assisting with a patient. And our patients are getting heavier and heavier now, so we have to be really aware of that. And other risk factors, occupations that require heavy lifting, occupations that require sitting for long periods of time, driving, vibration is another key risk factor. Nursing in itself is in the top 10% of occupations for high risk for injury. So being in a hospital healthcare setting, automatically your risk is quite substantial there. being obese, or poor strength and lack of endurance. People that are overweight or obese, they have that more weight to move around, and they tend to be weaker too as far as their core strength is concerned. So if you don't have that core strength and support, then you're going to increase your risk for back injury. Poor posture, putting your body in awkward or abnormal positions is going to stress the ligaments, the muscles, tendons, so that increases your risk as well. Smoking, age, typically middle-aged to older are higher risk, and typically men are at higher risk.
Is that because they lift more? They tend to be macho about what they lift?
Maybe they are more risky behaviors. That probably has something to do with it. Yeah. I think a lot of times men hold their stress and tension a lot of times in their low back. Women tend to do more upper back, shoulder, neck. So, that plays a factor as well. Any previous back injuries, you're automatically higher risk. Previous, maybe a family history of back injuries or previous surgeries or back injuries, that's going to increase your risk. Pregnancy, because of the laxity in the ligaments, and obviously the weight involved in the posture, the stress to the low back from the baby. Osteoporosis, weakness in the bone that can cause fractures, compression fractures, or those type of injuries. And then finally, stress or depression. They found that people who are under a lot of stress or depression tend to have more chronic back problems. Part of that, I think, is that they tend to hold their tension and they're tense up, and because of that tension, it throws off their body mechanics and increases the risk for injury as well. Okay? All right, now I'm going to turn over to Jane, and she's going to talk about office ergonomics.
And what a lovely big group we have. So, are you getting up and stretching every so often? You said you work 10 hours a day at your computers. Have you ever heard of the 20-20-20 rule? And that rule says that every 20 minutes, for 20 seconds, you need to be looking at least 20 feet away. Think about the eye strain you get staring at your computer all day. And how often do you adjust your workstation? Okay? As I'm sitting directly in front of my computer, my eyes should be about 1 inch below the topmost level of the screen. I don't want you looking down like this. Think about what your neck does. If you're looking straight out, your eyes scan down. I don't want that computer all the way up because then you're doing this. So when you go to sit down to your computer, whatever computer station it should be, always take the time to adjust the computer monitor. That's the first thing you should adjust. The next thing you need to adjust is your chair. No matter how long you're sitting there, adjust your chair because it only takes seconds. Now most people, they plop down. Sometimes they'll adjust the height of the chair. Okay? And we all know that chairs generally, they go up, they go down. When you sit, you do not want your butt heavy enough to put this chair down. You do not want your butt lower than your knees. Always keep your knees just a little bit below the butt. Okay? We don't want parallel thighs. I want your butt just a little bit above the height of your knees and feet flat on the floor. Okay? Now notice I'm not even sitting in the back of my chair yet. Notice how I'm sitting. I lean forward. An anterior pelvic tilt. That can be achieved by adjusting the angle of the seat. The seat actually drops down. Okay? When it drops down, it forces me to go forward. I rotate my pelvis forward. If I have this seat completely flat, I lean back, I rotate back onto my pelvis, and I slouch. Adjust the height of the lumbar support. Don't automatically sit down and think that this is the right chair for you. Now this is actually supporting my butt. My butt does not need support. I got enough there already. It's my lumbar area that needs the support. The chair I'm sitting in is a Criterion chair. And most of the offices now have Criterion chairs. There's a little, in between the little rungs right here, there's an area I can reach behind, I can move this up, I can move this down. I feel where my lumbar area is. Adjust that to meet your needs. Okay? There's one more adjustment on your chair, and it is the seat pan depth. Now, as I sit here, I can feel this chair at the back of my legs. Well, what is that doing to the back of my legs? It's compressing the nerve, okay? You should be able to fit your palm in between your chair and the back of your knee. The way you do that is a seat depth adjustment. Now I can get this to work earlier. There it goes, and it pushed it back. Now this pushed my butt back into the chair. Okay, so I'm getting better lumbar support. I'm having more clearance behind my knees so that I'm not compressing that nerve back there. Always take 2 to 3 seconds to adjust your chair, whatever chair it is that you sit on. Now, see, and you're going, yeah, see? I do that, no, I don't do that. It makes a difference, okay? Your feet should be flat on the floor. If they're not, consider getting a footrest so that you're comfortable. Move your keyboard monitor close to you, okay? I don't want to see people out like this because when I stretch out, what am I doing? I'm continually firing the muscles in my shoulder to support me out here. No, bad biomechanics. Bring the arms in. Elbows should be directly below the shoulder. Neutral body position whenever possible. Okay? Move the keyboard close to you. And remember, when you were taught to type, did you learn on a typewriter? And what did they tell you? To float your wrists. And then computers became very prevalent. And they noticed that the old typewriters had a little bit of a tilt to it. Well, they got fancy and they put those little footrests on the back of the computer keyboard mouses, computer keyboards, and they said, have those up. Have your wrists do this. No, we want to keep our wrists in a neutral position. Lower the feet on your keyboard, okay? Float your wrists. Do not get lazy. Do not drop down. When you drop your wrist down, I'm directly on my median nerve. Median nerve, carpal tunnel. So if I'm pressing down on here and I'm not floating my wrist, first of all, I have wrist extension, pressing on the median nerve, neutral position whenever possible, floating your wrists, okay? Don't drop them. And it is not a wrist rest. The little pads that you get to go in front of your computer, those are palmar rests. You should be dropping your wrist only in between typing. Otherwise, that should not hit your wrist. Same thing with your mouse. Now, we've gotten so fancy with mice, and what do? We do this. We chase that mouse all over the place. You need to pull your arm back, keep the elbow underneath the shoulder. And every right-handed person should be mousing with their left hand. Because you are overusing your right. Now, you don't need to go out and get a fancy new mouse for that. What we need to do is to change the primary clicker of your mouse. You go into your computer control panel. You see the little mouse section. When you highlight that, you'll notice that the index finger portion of the mouse is highlighted. If you click on that little box, it will switch the primary clickers. Then you physically pick up your mouse, you move it to the left side, and now it is set for an index finger. Every right-handed person should be mousing with their left hand because the amount of overuse with the right hand. Now, is that going to be hard? You better believe it. You are going to be so slow and awkward, but think about the new connections you're making in your brain. And the older we get, the more repetitions we need to do to make our brain remember and for it to become automated. Okay? New connections. We're staving off Alzheimer's. We're making new connections in the brain, and that's a very good thing. Okay? Make sure that you look at functional reach. If your phone is way over here, you need to be moving it closer. If your phone is over here, you pick it up, you automatically move it into your left hand so that you can access your computer or you can write. Pick your phone up, move it to the left side. If you spend more than 5 minutes on your telephone at one time, consider getting a headset. Most people, when they pick up the phone, do one of these. Okay, what am I doing to my neck? Neutral position whenever possible. Get a headset if you're going to do it for more than 5 minutes. Even if it's once a day, you have a 10-minute call. Get a headset because of the repetitiveness of this. Okay? You can request an ergonomic referral workstation evaluation by accessing the St. Mary's intranet page. And we're going to go on to here. The Safe Patient Handling logo, we're going to double click there. And over on the right, we see Workstation Design and Assessment and Ergonomic Referral to Rehab Services. So we'll click on that bottom one, Jerry, on the Ergo Referral. Talk to your supervisor, talk to your director, saying, these are the issues I'm having. I'd like rehab to come and evaluate my workstation. This is the form that needs to be completed. You fill out this little form, send it to rehab. It'll come to either Jerry or I, and we will set up a time with you and come out, meet you, look at your workstation, help you identify areas of concern, and then make recommendations to make things a little bit easier. So the take-home note there is, we are here for you. Don't live in pain. Get an ergonomic referral. Think about your body, both while you're sitting at your desk and while you're up moving, okay? God gives you one body. Be kind to it, because the parts do wear out. Any other questions for either of us? Lovely.
We had handles like this earlier, I know. And when we got our positions, the ambulance service, about 10 years ago, we had to go take our own chairs out. So all of us cord peppers and kinds of chairs. And my seat does go back and forth, and the height goes up and down, and the back adjusts in and out, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then I also have one of those little things that go behind my back.
The portable lumbar support, and isn't that wonderful? It just makes you feel like you've got that extra support, and it pushes you forward a little bit so that you don't have to reach for your keyboard. You're a little bit closer to it. Makes a difference.
But we have lists that we have to follow. And then I'm writing on this side, I'm doing the keyboard, so I have to keyboard in my pen. I do the mouse, and I quit that and then write, and then, so I need to do the little.
See? Left-handed mouse in, you'll be able to write with your right hand. You'll be multitasking, making new connections.
Yeah, and we have Alzheimer's.
I do too!
So that would be something. I heard that if you start doing things with the other hand, the hand you're not used to doing, that really helps the brain.
Absolutely.
So that's something I'll work on if I do think about a call.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whatever you can do to make those connections and be kinder to your body.
And I know you guys are in office setting, but just for the sake of the presentation too, the same website is part of our Safe Patient Handling program here at St. Mary's. And we have, you can see up here, this also contains a lot of our equipment guides for any type of patient handling equipment that we have as far as moving patients are concerned. So it's a great resource. You could go in here and click on any piece of equipment that you may need review on how it works, or maybe you forget what this part is for, or whatever the case. So it's a good resource for nursing to access, to look up any kind of equipment needs that the patients might need as far as safely moving your patients as well. And then also there's a resource for the bariatric population, the heavier obese patients. We have a separate section here as well that's just for those folks as far as doing rental process through UHS here in the hospital to get equipment that's appropriate for them as well. So, okay. Otherwise,
Thank you so much for your time.
thanks for coming.